Hey guys, how are ya? Today it's going to be another one of those hodgepodge videos where we just do a bunch of little stuff together and I take you along with me. First things first, I am going to put down some slug and snail bait all around where my garden is, where I plant stuff. I've got it written down on the calendar to do it today, I think 3 weeks from now, and then I believe it is again right before I start to plant my tomatoes. That should help keep the population of them down quite a bit if I do that. So let's get to it. So this here is what I use. It seems to do a pretty good job. In the past, I usually plant out my tomato starts, and because I mulch around them with wood mulch, the slugs and snails love that stuff. I end up planting out my tomatoes and I forget about this, and a few days later I come out to check on them and they have holes all over them and snails climbing up them. But this year we're gonna get them preemptively. So this is all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take some little handfuls and just scatter little bits of it around. And I'm going to do that all over the planting area, and even a little bit around just like the walkways and everything. Just try to eliminate some of the slugs and snails that want to live around here. So I needed to clean up my garden bed that is on my deck. So that's what I'm doing here, just weeding it. And then I'm also going to top it off with some new soil and some compost. Now it's time to fill up my lower garden beds. So I used fill dirt on the bottom of my garden beds, and they have compacted down quite a bit in the past couple of years since being first filled, which leaves a quite large gap between where the soil sits and the top of the bed. So I'm trying to top the bed off, as you can see how low the soil is. Now I'm just going to mix in some fertilizer. This is slow release 10-10-10 all-purpose fertilizer. So here I have started to dig the hole for my plum tree. I'm putting it in my front yard. And I'm just showing you how rocky our soil is. So I'm making the hole at least 2 times as wide as the root ball, quite a bit deeper, because I'm going to add in a good bit of loose soil that isn't full of rocks. So I'm just removing all the rocks, and then I'll add back in soil that is easier for the roots to kind of grow into. Now I'm going to add in the loose potting mix to the bottom of the hole. Add in enough so that when I put the plum tree down into the hole, that the root ball is going to be level with the ground where it is. You don't want the trunk of the tree to be below ground level. Now I'm just going to add in some all-purpose fertilizer to feed the tree. It's just 10, 10, 10. My cat Rona wanted to join me, so I brought her out to watch. Next thing I'm doing is I'm going to put a stake down into the hole. And this will make sure that if it's a really windy day, that the tree will stay put and won't get bent, so it's not going to be wonky. Rona decided that she was done with the outside world, so I took her back in. I kept having to move the stake around because I kept hitting a rock and I couldn't get it down in the ground very well. After I got that staked in really well, I started to add back in some of the native soil from the hole minus the rocks. So I'm just separating that all from the good soil, getting rid of the rocks. Now you're going to want to make sure you press in that soil, so I'm just tamping it down really well, making sure there's no air pockets anywhere. You can see my bucket of rocks there. Here's the tag for it. Show you which one I got and how much it cost. And I got it from Lowe's. Now we're going to tie this tree to the stake. So I tied it close to the top and one at the bottom. Then I just added some fertilizer around the base of the tree, not really close to the trunk, but around the base. And then mulch. This will help hold in moisture. Then immediately after planting, you want to water it in really well. Give it a good soak. And when I plant something new like this, I will make sure it gets watered every day for at least the first 7 to 10 days. Really trying to give it a good start. And then on the same day, I also planted a blueberry bush that I got from Lowe's as well. And just the same process. Dig in the hole, add in some loose soil, getting rid of all the rocks, adding fertilizer, mulching around it, and watering it in well. So you see that over there? I've been working on that all day Thursday, all day Friday, and I still have like 3 trays to do. I gotta take a break from that. I gotta do something else. So I'm gonna show you a couple things that I do to keep my plants happy. So right here underneath my sink, I keep a container that I keep, and right there is where I keep all the scrap compost, toilet paper rolls, all that kind of stuff. But I also keep this, it's an old pretzel container. I have a friend at work and she brings me these full of coffee grounds. Her aunt Dot and Marge, they save them for me, which I think is so sweet. So thank you, Aunt Dot and Aunt Marge and Linda. But I reuse the containers after emptying the coffee grounds into my garden. I always use the containers for other things, wash them up. Sometimes I'll store beans in them. I'm also planning on using them, like flip them over and drill some holes in the top, using them to maybe have like mini greenhouses for my pepper plants or tomato plants so I can get them out into the ground a little sooner. So I'm going to try that this year. But save your eggshells. Why do you want to do that? Well, they're good in compost, but they're also really good for tomato plants. What I usually do is I grind them up into this fine powder. And I put a handful of this into each hole when I go to plant my tomatoes and peppers and eggplants. And another thing I'm going to do is this fish fertilizer, which I've bought another big gallon one. I got the small one just to try it out. Plants love it, so I got a big gallon this time around. But I'm going to dilute this in this bottle, and then what I do, I'll show you downstairs what I do with it afterwards at my seed starting station. Because when plants are small, they don't need hardly any fertilizer, but they do need a little bit. So do you have to blend and crush these up into a fine powder? You don't have to, but the finer that you break them down, the quicker they'll be broken down in the soil by the microorganisms for them to actually be useful. So if you put a whole eggshell that's barely crushed, it's going to take a lot longer for the organisms in the soil to actually make that useful for your plants. So the finer the powder, the quicker it's useful. So, but you could, just like you see how it's crushed, you see how it's just a little crushed at the bottom here? You could just crush that in your hand and put that in your hand. But I've got a NutriBullet and I'm gonna use it. I've actually already got an entire tub. Oh, that would have been bad. I've already got an entire tub of this down in the basement, ready for all my tomato plants. And I'm up potting them right now, which is taking forever. Hey Alexa, why are eggshells good for plants?
Here's something I found on the web. According to ecosalon.com, eggshells are packed with calcium, which helps plants to grow.
Packed with calcium, did you hear that? Stay tuned, I'm going to give you an update on the chicks. They're a little bit over 3 weeks. They'll be 4 weeks on either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not actually sure the day they were born, but I know that they usually ship them like the very day they're born or the next day. And they were delivered to me on Friday. So I'm guessing their birthday was either on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. This process, like, very powdery, and you can kind of smell it. And it reminds me of a tooth being drilled. That's what it kind of smells like. Or maybe a little like burnt hair. It's gross. It's kind of gross. So I'm actually going to try this year to plant up. Hope I have enough room. If not, I will make room. 120, no, I think it's like 130 something different varieties of tomatoes. That is what I have been potting up all day, is my tomato and pepper plants. I think I've got like 37 or 36 types of pepper plants. There was only one variety of tomato plant that I had like 3 seeds left, and I didn't get not one of those to germinate. Can't remember. Dutchman was a fail. So there's lots of different kind of things that you can add to your planting hole. For tomatoes, I've heard you can add even just a whole egg. Like, put it in the bottom of the planting hole. Some people will give it a little crack. Some people just leave it like it is without cracking it. I've heard of fish heads. I have my own way of doing it, just like everyone else. All right, so I'll put this back underneath the sink. Soon, these eggshells will be all from my ladies and not store-bought. I'm so excited about that. Who knew I could be excited about that? Under the sink. All right, so the fish fertilizer here. Let's get you guys a little bit straighter. I am just gonna put This stuff stinks. I mean, it's fish fertilizer, so it's nasty. It smells like you would imagine. Now, because my plants are quite a bit bigger, I had diluted this a lot more the first time I did it. So this time I'm going to add a little bit more. Not a whole lot left in there. So that's how much I filled it. I actually use very, very diluted to water my houseplants with this as well. And we're going to fill it the rest of the way up with water. And then I'm going to take you downstairs and show you what I do with this. So diluted it once, show you how I dilute it again. So you see these buckets down here? I've already added some to the water, but I keep 2 buckets down here full of water. I don't know how many gallons those are. 5-gallon buckets probably. So I don't have to keep running, because I don't have a water source down here in the basement. So I don't have to keep going back upstairs, filling a pitcher, come downstairs, water the plants. I keep these 2 buckets full of water, and then I will just put, like, I'm talking like a capful or 2 capfuls, just a little splash in the water. You know, it's kind of gross looking, but that's what I do to feed my plants. And as you can see, here they all are. They're a little bit roughed up a bit. The peppers are doing great with the transplanting, so, and the tomatoes aren't half bad, but they were getting, some of them a little, I'm hoping that they perk back up. Show you the little, well, this one was all drooped over last night. See, it needs to go somewhere else. It's too close to the light. So I'm gonna put it down here. Last night it was all slumped over, and see, it's perked back up. So tomatoes are very resilient. That's one reason why I like them, because you can beat them up pretty good and they will still try their darndest to grow for you. All right, chickie time. Hi, ladies. You better get down from there. All right. It is snowing outside. Doubt you can see that, but gross. There they all are. They are getting their big girl feather. Look at you. You used to be all pale. You used to be all pale yellow feathered, and now you're not. And there is Taggy. Hi, Taggy. Oh, what in the world? She just ran into you like that. How rude. Taggy's the sweetest one of them all. Yes, you're Mommy's favorite, and you know it. All right, so I've had a couple people that are curious. Let me see if I can snatch her up and show you how her little bottom issue looks. So here she is. This is Taggy. Let's see if I can show you. So you can see the little tag right there still. She is doing fantastic. Getting her beautiful little tail feathers. Isn't she beautiful? Yes, you are. Say hello. Say hello, I'm Taggy. I am Mama's favorite. I'm Mama's favorite. Aren't ya? Smile for the camera, Taggy. Look, I smile for the camera. Say hello. I'm the best. I'm the favorite. Yeah, tell everybody. Tell everybody how you're a survivor. Yeah. Look at these big, giant feet. I can't get over how they were so teeny tiny just 3 weeks ago when I got them. Sorry about dropped you guys. All right, gonna put her back in. And here is a little update on the peas that we planted in the last this and that video. They are all popping up. Just giving them a little water here all along the fence, so hopefully they'll grab a hold of that. Oh, sorry, it's windy, but you can start to see they are starting to come up. Now I'm a little worried because the forecast is calling for, here's the spinach row. All the little spinaches. Third row up is doing the best. And then here's the fourth row. Lots of stuff. And you just wait, guys, when this is completely full of baby lettuces and baby spinach. It is, this wall is just covered in green. It's beautiful. I was saying that it's calling for down to like 20 degrees Fahrenheit for a couple of nights here coming up in a few days. I'm hoping that these being close to the house, that maybe it won't kill them, but we'll have to wait and see. So I'm hoping the heat from the house will keep these warm enough, and I'll make sure I keep them nice and watered. Water retains heat, so hopefully that'll be enough to keep them from dying. And the last update is the dahlias. So I posted a video of me pre-sprouting dahlias, how to do that. And here they all are. This one had a little mishap. My husband accidentally knocked it over. That's why it looks a little bit disheveled there. But nothing going on in that one. But this one right there already popping through. So it's been exactly a week. There's another one popping through. And right there. And right there. Just keeping them moist. Keeping an eye on them. And I will update you again in another week or so. Although I didn't do a video on how to do this, it's called cold starting. I'll go ahead and show you what's going on inside them. So there's quite a few that have a bunch of green happening. I can show you. So you start these when it's still freezing outside, and these are like mini greenhouses. And I am going to do a video on when I open them up. But for now, I'll just give you a peek. There's flowers, there's kales, different kinds of things in here. But they're all doing really well. This is the first time I've done this method of sowing seeds. This one looks like it needs a little bit of water. Be on the lookout for that video.